For 2 months, the world's attention has been fixed on the desert sands of Iran and the choppy waters of the Persian Gulf. But the echoes of the Operation Epic Fury are being felt most acutely in the freezing trenches of Donbass and the darkened streets of Kyiv. The math of modern warfare is brutal and uncompromising. To defend against Iranian ballistic missiles, the United States has already burned through nearly half of its entire inventory of Patriot interceptors. As Washington's stockpiles hit dangerous territory, a zero-sum game has emerged. Every missile fired over the Arabian Sea is a missile that cannot protect a Ukrainian power plant from a Russian barrage. While Kyiv holds its breath, the global economy is waking up to a different kind of math. Oil traders who spent weeks in a stupor are finally reacting to the reality that 40 million barrels of oil a day are simply gone. With Brent crude spiking to $125 and diesel selling for $600 a barrel in some corners of the world, the peace deal the markets have been betting on looks less likely a certainty and more like a mirage. I'm Lana Qasas and this is In Focus. Ukraine relies on the Patriot system to blunt Russian ballistic strikes, but the United States is now likely short of what it needs for its own defense, let alone Taiwan's. Under the PURL program, Trump has turned these life-saving interceptors into a transactional tool, reportedly threatening to cut off Kyiv unless Europe joins his blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Joining us to discuss the strategic trade-offs of an overstretched superpower is former NATO official Nicholas Williams. A very warm welcome, sir. Nicholas, it seems that America First policy is discovering that even a superpower's magazine has a bottom. CSIS reports the United States has used roughly 1,100 Patriot missiles in just 60 days. With a production rate of less than 200 a year, are we witnessing the literal exhaustion of Western air defense in real time?
Yes, good morning. Yes, I think you are very right and very accurate. The United States is discovering, or President Trump is discovering, that he can't do everything and he can't be everywhere strategically at every time. And the problem is not that the U.S. has run out of power, but it's recognized the problem is it's recognized its limitation. Previous administrations were much more aware of U.S. limitations. That's why they used diplomacy as well as military force. But President Trump is using military force and along with tariffs, it's the only weapons that they have, and they've neglected diplomacy.
Sir, President Trump has reportedly linked Patriot deliveries to European support for his Iran blockade. From a NATO perspective, sir, is this brilliant transaction, or is it breaking the foundation trust of the alliance?
Well, it is breaking the confidence of the alliance because the alliance has assumed that the Americans will come to their rescue if all else fails. If the Russians present a significant threat, then the United States will present its deterrence capability to deter the Russians. But if the weapons, high-tech weapons, are running down, if the United States can only focus on one theater, and that's the Middle East, at one time, then Europe is exposed and the allies cannot really rely on the United States.
Okay, sir. Ukrainian intercept rates have fallen to 25% due to the Russian adaptations and missile shortages. If the United States stops supplying PURL packages, does Ukraine's energy grid survive another month, or is it a total blackout now a strategic certainty?
Well, no one actually knows. The Ukrainians have shown themselves very resilient and have so far survived the Russian onslaught on their energy facilities. But this cannot last forever. But the United States' failure to supply the Europeans and supplying the Ukrainians with key air defense weapons, I think, will hasten the end Ukrainian resistance.
Raytheon is starting production of the older PAC-2 variant in Germany, sir. Can a 3-year delivery timeline for older tech actually bridge the gap, or is this too little, too late for the 2026 campaign?
Well, yes, of course, it is too little, too late. But the Russians have very profound difficulties themselves, and that they're being very cautious because they are losing equipment, losing troops, and don't have the momentum necessary to exploit, decisively exploit these gaps and weaknesses in the Ukrainian defense. And so, yes, the 2026 campaign will see the Ukrainians being pushed back slowly.
Why, sir, will Ukraine be pushed slowly back?
Sorry?
Why will Ukraine be pushed slowly back?
Why? Because the Russians are
taking the lead?
Relentlessly pushing forward. They are organized across the whole of the line, Russian-Ukrainian line, and the Ukrainians don't have the forces and the equipment necessary just to sustain their current position. So the Russians are slowly pushing the Ukrainians back, but it won't. It doesn't seem that the Ukrainians will collapse or crumble at any time soon in 2026, because the Europeans are providing still money and equipment, artillery shells, and so on.
Vice President Vance says he is proud of ending direct military aid. Is the Colby Doctrine being a priority when it comes to munitions for a potential Pacific conflict over Ukraine, sir, now that the undisputed law of the land in Washington?
Well, the Pacific area, the struggle with China for dominance in the Pacific, particularly the China Sea, it takes priority for most American strategists, and the Middle East, for particularly President Vance, is a sideshow, and a damaging sideshow, and it's difficult to see how the United States will extract themselves from this war in Iran, but it is a necessity, and because the munitions needed to deter or fight a war with China are dangerously low.
Nicholas, Europe has its own anti-ballistic system, the SAM-T, but production is even lower than the Patriots. If the United States pulls back, does Europe have any physical capacity to shield Ukraine, regardless, of course, of how much money they vote for in Brussels?
No, because the United States are the most advanced country on earth in terms of air defense. And yes, the Ukrainians can, and with European help, defend against drones and take out many drones. But the Russians have ballistic missiles. They have many drones themselves. And so, again, while the Europeans can bolster the Ukrainian defense and air defense, they can't actually halt the Russian advance, albeit slow as it is.
Sir, some diplomats argue Ukraine is a force to be reckoned with, that can survive without the United States' support. Is that a realistic strategic assessment or a dangerous rationalization for abandon, sir?
Well, I don't. The problem is that the United States, under Biden, invested themselves so much in the support of Ukraine that sudden or cutting off of this support means that the Europeans and the Ukrainians have to scramble around in order to bolster the Ukrainian defense. I think it's a dangerous illusion, as you say, to effectively believe that the Europeans and the Ukrainians can actually replace quickly what they've lost from American support. Yes, the Europeans can do it in time, but they don't have the time, the luxury of the time to actually replace what the Americans have had. So it's looking a bit grim for the Ukrainians.
Perfect, sir. Nicholas, while the physical missiles are running low, the fuel for the global economy is hitting a similarly terrifying bottleneck. We're moving from the air defense of Kyiv to the la-la land of the oil markets. Stay with us, sir, please, and we'll be back again. Energy experts call the closure of the Strait of Hormuz the biggest supply shock in history. Yet futures markets are betting that prices will drop to $88 by the end of the year. The economists calls this la-la land. They argue that even if a deal is signed tomorrow, demining the strait, restoring insurance, and restarting refineries could take months, if not years. Back again to you, Nicholas. If 40 million barrels are shut in, why is oil only at $125? Are traders still betting on a Trump miracle, or are they fundamentally miscalculating the time it takes to reopen a war zone?
It's a good question. But the oil reserves of the Western powers are significant. Russia has increased its oil supplies. So there is a sort of buffer to a huge hike in oil prices, but that can't last forever. As you say, this is, according to most economists, the biggest shock to the world economy that anyone has ever known in our lifetime. So it can't last forever. And I think the Trump administration realizes that time is limited before the full effects, catastrophic effects of the economic effects of this oil crisis is felt.
Sir, this takes us to another question. There's a theory that Iran will never fully reopen the strait, that it will treat it as a toll gate for political leverage. If the United States accepts that, has the era of freedom of navigation officially ended?
Well, the problem is, what is the status of the Straits of Hormuz? There's some dispute about that. The Iranians, though they signed the 1982 Law of the Sea Convention, haven't ratified it. And they claim that previous arrangements allow them to exert tolls and control what is effectively in the Straits of Hormuz, half of the Straits of Hormuz are half their territorial waters, so they can do whatever they want, according to them, on their territorial waters. the United States think that these are international waters. Well, they're not international waters. They're shared by Qatar and Iran. But the Iranians will insist that they have the right to do whatever they want in the Straits of Hormuz. And this is a real problem because the United States, if the Iranians insist, will have to escalate or admit defeat and admit that the Iranians have full control of their side of the Straits of Hormuz.
Sir, when it comes to the word midterm elections, which is, of course, a turning point in the U.S. administration at this point, Trump is facing, of course, midterm elections. He might limit U.S. refined product exports to keep domestic prices low. How would a gasoline nationalism policy for Washington affect an already reeling Europe and Asia, sir?
Well, the problem with Europe and Asia is that they don't have any influence over the Trump administration.
Does anyone, from your own perspective, sir, have any leverage over the Trump administration?
No, but possibly this meeting next week in China, Trump and Xi
Jinping?
Will see some sort of accommodation or indication that that China will need to have the Straits of Hormuz open and needs oil. Maybe that is a prospect. Only China can have any influence over.
Why, sir, only China can have any leverage?
Well, because the Russians are focused on Ukraine. The Europeans are ignored. They don't. Vis-a-vis Iran. They're not listened to by President Trump. So it's only the Chinese can have a leverage, can have a voice in terms of the Trump administration.
Markets seem to think you just flip a switch once a deal is signed. Nicholas, based on your security background, how long does it actually take to declare the Strait of Hormuz safe for unescorted commercial tankers after a conflict?
Well, estimates say it will take 6 months. It depends on how much the straits have been mined. It depends about how confident the commercial shipping is in terms of any deal which is agreed. But if there is no deal agreed, then it's very any confidence will take years to reassert itself, because they could, Iran can impose its will anytime it wants.
Is it the right of Iran to impose its will whenever it decides to?
If there's no deal, then Iran can threaten the Straits and the world economy whenever it wants to, yes.
Okay, sir. If Trump reads that it is a priority, the total eradication of Iran's nuclear program over the reopening of the Strait, can the global economy survive a year of $150 oil?
No. And this is the strange thing. Everyone is looking at this war as if it's a video game, and we are bystanders. But we're also victims, and the whole world will be a victim if this war is not resolved satisfactorily in a short time. And even the United States will suffer. And I think the midterm elections will be a key point, and it's the only internal pressure that the United that will.
Sir, sorry to jump in here and ask you, internal pressure from who?
From the U.S. electorate, and also disaffected Republicans who are now realizing that the adventure in Iran is self-destructive.
Okay, sir, because I have to wrap up now. Do you read the Third World War coming?
I think a Third World War is unlikely in the short term. But if the United States seeks to escalate this and seeks to break the ceasefire and seeks to bomb Iraq into the Stone Age, as President Trump says, then the possibility of a wider conflict is distinct. It's probable.
So you mean a wider conflict, sir?
A wider conflict which is drawing China and Russia.
Thank you very much, Nicholas Williams, for walking us through the grim geometry of missiles and markets. Your insight is, as always, very valuable, and of course, in-depth analysis, intellectual and informative knowledge, of course, all very much appreciated, sir. And on top of all your time, the stupor is ending, whether it's the realization in Kyiv, the Patriot umbrella is folding, or the realization in London that the tankers aren't coming. The La La Land of the 2026 is meeting a very hard reality. This has been In Focus. Thank you very much for watching. I'm